Hi everybody, welcome back to the Education Station. My name is Kezia.
My name's Jared, and today we have a super fun animal for you guys to check out. While Kezia gets that out, I'm going to get signed into our live, and I can answer any questions you guys have, or I'll have Kezia answer them. So ask away, ask lots and lots of questions. We love answering those questions, but I'll hand it back over to Kezia with our guest.
All right, guys, let me get him kind of situated here. So this is Donald, and he is an American alligator. So American alligators are obviously native to here in the United States. Not throughout the entire United States, though. It's going to be in more of the southern half, mainly in the Louisiana and Florida areas. They spend all of their time in freshwater and on land, so they do not prefer to be in salt water, but it's not unheard of to maybe see that every once in a while as well. So he's going to hiss a little bit while he comes down here, and that's totally fine. Alligators can make a lot of different noises. When they're younger, they chirp for their mom, and when they get older, they can make these hissing noises, and they can also kind of growl and rumble, and it kind of sounds like a lion. And they can also make noises underneath the water that you can hear from miles away. All right, do we have any questions starting off?
Not yet.
Okay.
Everyone's still getting signed in, still getting logged in.
Okay, perfect. Well, then I'll just go ahead and keep talking. So there's a couple differences between an alligator and a crocodile. The main difference, though, when you're looking at them is their nose. So an alligator is going to have more of that U-shaped nose like Donald has here, and our crocodiles are going to have more of that V-shape or pointed nose. Now, there are only two types of alligators in the entire world, one being the American alligator like this one, and the other being an Asian alligator that would obviously live over in Asia. The American alligators are much larger and will get much larger throughout the time that they grow, and the Asian alligators are going to be about half their normal size. So American alligators continuously grow throughout their entire lives. So Donald here is probably going to be able to get into his 50s. Excuse me, sorry. Probably going to be able to get into his 50s or his 60s. And he's going to grow in length at that size too. So normally speaking, if you see an alligator outside or in some swamps, the bigger they are, the older they're going to be.
So we've had a couple questions about how big do they get, how old do they get. How old is Donald for those who are just signing in?
Yeah, so Donald is about 2 years old currently, so he's getting a good size here.
Katie wants to know, do they have different patterns on their skin, or are they all the same?
So they're not all the same. We do currently have 3 different types of different American alligators at the zoo. They all live together, and we tell their differences by their sheer size and then the markings on their back. So their white stripes are all different.
Susan wants to know if they have baby teeth.
Do they have baby teeth? So yeah, they do. They have some nice baby teeth here that will grow and fall out, and they'll get really nice large adult teeth that will fall out due to other reasons like biting on things, because that's what they use to eat their food, and they eat a lot of different foods like anything from a fish to a chicken to a larger animal like a goat or even a cow as well when they get older.
Haley wants to know how long Donald has been at Blank Park Zoo.
So Donald has been at Blank Park Zoo a little over a year now, so we've had him for quite a while.
Joe wants to know what we feed them at the zoo.
So we feed them larger prey like fish and mice and rats sometimes, and then they also get a pelleted diet that is specifically made for alligators.
So Ed wants to know if he's ever bit you, and Beth wants to know what happens if he does.
All right, so no, I have yet to be bitten by an alligator at the zoo, and if that were to happen, we have multiple staff here at a time when we're handling these animals as well. So most of the time that these guys now, they're not really, they don't really understand the death roll yet. They haven't had to do that. So that probably wouldn't be something they would instinctually do. But if that were to happen, we would have other staff help us out, and we just kind of wait until they would release. Most of the time, if they're going to bite us, that means that they're frustrated and they're not trying to eat us. So
Nancy wants to know how long did we say he could get?
So he can get to about 15 to 16 feet in length.
Nora wants to know what he feels like.
So he actually feels very thick and leathery, kind of like a basketball.
Haley wants to know if we have to clip their claws like you do with other pets.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we do not clip their claws. We do give them other items in their enclosure, like pieces of big rocks and pieces of concrete to allow them to kind of scratch on, so that wears down their nails a little bit.
Chad wants to know if he was born at Blank Park Zoo.
So no, he wasn't born at Blank Park Zoo. So our alligators are actually used in our education programs. And then we partner with a place down in Florida, and we take them when they're young, and then we send them back so that they can live the rest of their lives hands-free, and then just with a bunch of other alligators as well.
So as Stephanie asked, how do you distinguish Donald from our other alligators?
Yeah, so Donald has more of a broken pattern on his back. He doesn't really like to be moved that much, so I'm not going to move him. Sorry, excuse me, I'm trying to fix my mask here. So I'm not going to move him, but his stripes here, he has about 4 or 5 that go down his back, and one of them kind of connects with the other one.
Charlie wants to know what he eats.
So he eats a lot of mice, and fish are kind of his favorite, but he really loves his alligator chow as well.
And Candy asks, are they as dangerous as they seem?
So yes, they are pretty dangerous. We hold them in very special ways, as you can see currently. The older they get, the stronger they get as well. So if you see an alligator out in the wild, just leave it alone.
Jessica and Logan asked if alligator size can be different depending on where it lives.
So yeah, so that kind of depends too. So if they live in a place that has a lot of food around them, they will get larger and they will grow faster. If they're in a place where food is minimal or not as high, their size will be smaller. So it does depend on age and availability of food.
Oh, my comments went away.
Oop.
All right, now we're back. Does he live with any other females?
So we currently do not know the gender of any of our alligators at the zoo, so I'm not sure.
Katie wants to know if his eyes always look like that.
What does that mean?
So his eyes are pretty much how they always look. Kind of a unique thing about alligators is that they don't really have to blink. They don't have to do a lot with their eyes because they do have a nice protection over their eyes. So when they're underwater, they can still see. When they live in the swamps, it's not very clear. So he has to have some extra protection over his eyes. So his eyes out of the water are really about exactly the same as they are underwater.
Yeah, so he can blink his eyes. He does have an extra eyelid, which Jared was talking about for that protection, which is called a nictitating membrane, and it's clear and it can close over his eyes so he's still able to see while he's blinking.
Steph wants to know, and Patrick, how many teeth does he have?
I'm not 100% sure. I haven't counted, and I probably won't do that because his mouth is a nice area where I don't really want to get too close to.
When he's got all of his teeth, he'll probably have close to 80. But like Kezia mentioned earlier, they'll cycle, they'll fall out, he'll grow new. So he's always going to have really just a ton of teeth. Victoria wants to know what Donald's favorite thing to do is.
Donald's favorite thing to do is to swim. So Donald spends most of his time underneath the water in his enclosure, and every once in a while he'll get out and bask in his heat lamp, but most of the time he's swimming and hanging out with his other alligator siblings.
Stephanie wants to know if Donald has any habits that are unique to him. Does he have a particular personality?
Sorry. Go ahead, keep talking.
He just wants to know if he has any a particular personality or if any habits that are unique to him.
Yeah, so Donald is actually one of our more relaxed alligators. I'm going to give him a break for just a second. He's more of one of our relaxed alligators, so he's kind of in between his two siblings. So one of his siblings is a little bit more skittish and a little less active, and then his other sibling is quite a bit larger, and he loves to eat all of the food, and he's kind of in between where he'll be a lot more active at some times, and he'll eat a lot more at some times, and it just kind of depends on the day.
Elizabeth asked, can you tell what emotion he's feeling?
Can I tell what emotion he is feeling? So that's a really good question, and it really kind of depends. So there's not a lot of emotions that we can tell from animals. It's not something where I can go in and I say like, oh, he's feeling fantastic, or he's feeling irritated, or he's feeling sad or things like that, but I can go in and tell when he doesn't want to be worked with, or when he's maybe more hungry and things like that, and that's by their behaviors and things that they do. So physical changes in their behavior is how we can kind of tell the types of moods that they are in and what they need.
Danny asked if he's a caiman or an alligator.
So he is an alligator. We do have caiman here at the zoo. They are dwarf caiman, and they are on exhibit in our DC area, so near our aquariums.
Nora asked if Donald has any friends.
So Donald just has his siblings that he hangs out with. Alligators, once they get a certain age, normally can either be more independent, or if they've grown up with siblings their entire life, they tend to live with multiple alligators. But most of the time in the wild, you're going to see them alone.
Joe asked if you know how long he can stay underwater.
So he can stay underwater for a very long time. What do you know the specific time?
It's kind of a tricky amount because they don't spend a ton of their time underwater. The kind of typical thing you see with alligators is their nose just kind of pointed right out the top of the water. So it's hard to tell, how long they're actually under the water because they spend a lot of their time sitting at the top with their eyes and their nose just kind of poked right out of the top.
Right, so they can spend hours, if not days, in the water like that because they're still able to breathe because their nose and their nostrils are on the top of their head. And their body camouflages really, really well with those swamps and those bogs and more stagnant waters and rivers and things like that as well. So they can hide and be underwater for, like I said, days if they really wanted to.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we got one last question. How do you tell an alligator and a crocodile apart?
Good question. So I kind of went over that a little bit at the beginning, but I'll say it again. The main difference that you're going to see is their face shape. So an alligator is going to have more of that U-shaped face like Donald has here, so it's going to be a little bit rounder. And then the crocodiles are going to have more of that V-shaped face or that V-shaped snout. And it might even look a little bit longer too.
All right, so it looks like that is about the time we have for you guys today. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Education Station today. Be sure to check out our Facebook every day for some new content. Check out our YouTube for all of our old videos that we've posted. There's tons of good stuff on there and good stuff yet to come this week. So make sure to share our posts, share everything. Get everyone learning a little bit more in this time. But that's all we have. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today.
Yep. Bye, guys.